When considering hedges on your farm and how you manage them, I like to think about the 3 C's. That's carbon, conservation, and compliance. So first of all, conservation. We know that hedges are a tremendous habitat to have on your farm. We know that they link various different habitats that already exist on the farm. A good way to think about them is almost like a green piece of string tying together disparate parts. We know that the habitat connectivity is a great resource for pollinators, for farmland birds, for small mammals. They provide shelter for livestock, but they also provide shelter for a range of pollinating insects, birds and small mammals. At the same time, if we consider periods of extreme heat and drought, hedges provide shelter and shade for livestock to move alongside the boundaries of a field without becoming overexposed. Obviously, hedges provide a stock-proof barrier and reduce the impact of wind and extreme weather, particularly in arable units where you're at risk of losing soil to wind erosion, but also in terms of drying land that can become particularly wet. As climate change continues to climb up the political and the agricultural agenda, carbon sequestration is becoming increasingly important. Hedges play a vital role in fighting climate change. Now, hedges, much like trees, offer the potential for farms to sequester carbon, to lock it into the soil and to mitigate against their own carbon footprint, creating resilience for biodiversity and resilience in terms of weather adaptation. We know that the ability to connect habitats will ultimately increase climate resilience on a farm and improve the long-term viability of these disconnected habitats. So if I'm on a farm and they're considering putting in hedges, what's the first thing to do? Well, the first thing for me would be to consider where it is exactly on the farm that you want to put the hedges, what habitats are already currently existing on the farm, and what are you trying to link up. Despite all the good a hedge can do, it is important to consider where a hedge should not be. We know that ground nesting wading birds, a national priority species for Scottish Government, do not like hedges. Now, the reason for this is that predatory raptors will quite often use hedges as cover to prey on chicks and to destroy nests. So always bear in mind when considering where you're going to plant a hedge, am I disadvantaging another habitat on the farm? They're not for every field and they're certainly not for every farm. When planting your hedge, and gapping up for that matter, you really want to consider whether or not you can afford to have a multi-species hedge. Having multi-species throughout your hedge increases the overall resilience of the hedge, but it also means that you can have a combination of flowering plants, berries, fruits, and different densities of hedges throughout the year. This combination of multiple species throughout the hedge will overall improve the biodiversity across the farm, particularly for your pollinating insects and beneficial insects. When we're looking at a young hedge, consider the grass margin that you've got alongside the hedge. Is there any potential to have a longer, denser, matted, tussocky grass? What that's going to do is it's going to push your pollinators to use the grass margins in addition to the hedges, particularly the lower end of the hedges. In terms of compliance, particularly on arable units, you should always be aware that you need a 2-metre margin from the centre of the hedge out into the middle of the field, and that area should essentially be uncultivated and unmanaged. The idea being that retention of landscape features is covered under good agricultural environmental condition and is part of your basic payment requirements. As of the 1st of September, farmers are now permitted to trim and manage their hedges. This break period will continue right up until the 31st of March. The main driver behind this decision is to allow farmland birds to utilise the hedges unimpeded through the summer. But as it comes to the back end of the year, there's less forage potential. Farmers can now get on and cut back and manage their hedges. There are plenty of resources out there to help you make informed decisions when you're planting a new hedge. These can include RSPB, Nature Scot, and Farming for a Better Climate. And please remember, the Farm Advisory Service is always there to help.